What's up, everybody? It's Jacob Brewitt. Today we're going to start a little mini series of how to produce metal. So it's going to be a tutorial series on how to set up and record different aspects or different instruments pertaining to hard rock and metal. And today we're going to start off with guitars. So this is going to be a two-part series for each episode. Today we're going to go over the setup and tracking of guitars. I'm going to break this into two little sections. One is going to be for a real amp and one's going to be for an amp sim. And then at the beginning of each section, I'm going to tell you a list of things you need. And then we'll get into setting up things. And then after that, we're going to go into actually tracking and kind of the setup that you should have inside your digital audio workstation or your program on your computer. So let's get into the video. So first we're going to talk about recording a guitar amplifier. Basically, here's what you're going to need. I'm going to go in order through the signal chain. So first, guitar, then guitar cable, then amplifier, then microphone, microphone cable, digital interface, computer. Those are the things you're going to need to just get started with recording a guitar amplifier. So we're going to talk about the setup of your guitar amp for recording, right? So here I have my guitar plugged in to the amp here. And, generally first what you're going to do, ensure that it's on. And then you're going to find a tone that you like. One thing to keep in mind is that a guitar is a mid-range instrument. So that's what you're going to be focused on when you're dialing in your tone. So let's go ahead and listen to the tone that I have dialed in. Alright, so I'd say it's a pretty balanced tone, good in the mid-range, everything sounds pretty decent. So, next what we're going to focus on is miking up the cab, right? So we have our microphone here, Shure SM57, super typical for recording guitar cabinets. What I'm going to display on the screen is basically the anatomy of a speaker, and I'll also show you where generally a lot of people like to place their microphones on the speaker, but that's something that you're going to have to experiment with. So I have my microphone here right up, almost touching the grill of the amp. So it's as close to the speaker as you're probably going to get unless you take that grill off. And I have it pointed right at the edge of the dust cap. So, like I said, I'm going to show a little diagram of what a speaker is, and then I'll show you exactly where I have my microphone placed. Now, from there, it's going to go to the interface, and then I'll show you what you're looking for when you set that up. So, now, we have the interface set up, and the red cable goes into channel 1 of the interface, and that's coming from the microphone that's mic'd up to the cabinet, right? So generally what you're going to look for on this interface specifically, there's an LED light which you can actually see right now that's lighting up green when I talk. Now that's what you're going to look for on the first channel where you have your guitar amp mic plugged into. Generally, good rule of thumb is to have it to where it's just below orange, which orange is your warning sign of clipping, right? If you're touching red, that's bad. You need to turn the volume down. So let's go ahead and check the volume that I have going into the interface from the microphone. So everything looks to be pretty good. No clipping at all going in. So now you have your real amp set up for recording. So before we get into any of the tracking or anything like that inside the digital audio workstation, there's a couple things that are similar between both methods of recording. And first one is being you're going to at least record 2 of the exact same tracks. All right? So you have your rhythm guitar part that you already know. You're going to record that, and then you're going to record it again on a different track. The reason is you're going to pan both of those to the left and right, so you have a stereo effect of both of those rhythm guitars. Because if you have one in the center, it's going to muddy up everything. You're going to have no room for your drums and your bass guitar. So having one on each ear is going to sound a lot better, and it's going to translate better in the mix. Another thing you're going to want to do when you're recording either method is you're going to want to wear your headphones when you're tracking, no matter what, because that's going to give you the best feel for your rhythm and how you're playing. You don't want to sloppy track because you decided to record on your speakers or anything. So make sure that you're wearing your headphones for both tracking methods. So now we loaded up the digital audio workstation of choice, which is Logic Pro for me. And this is a very simple session. You know, if you're just starting out, your session might look like this as well. So that's why I wanted to keep it simple here. You just have a drum track, a bass track, and then you have your guitar tracks. So I'm going to choose these 3. These are going to be my main guitar tracks. So you have a rhythm for the left and a rhythm for the right, and then a lead in the middle. Remember what I said earlier about having double track guitars for your rhythm? You want one on the left and one on the right for the stereo image. This is how you're going to want to set it up. And then your lead is going to be in the center because it's going to kind of act like vocals in a way, basically think about it as like your guitar is singing. So this is how you're going to have your tracks set up in your DAW. All right, time to start tracking. It's as simple as hitting record and playing. So here we go. All right, that's one track down. So now what we're going to do is go right back over and record the second one. Here we go. So pay special attention here because I'm going to pan each of these left and right and hear what it sounds like. So now we're going to go over a list of things you need for recording to an amp sim. So first off, guitar cable, to your interface, and then to your computer. And then you're going to need a program. You're going to need the amp sim, and you're going to need an IR, impulse response, which acts as your speakers. Now, a lot of popular amp sims also come with a built-in IR loader, and I'll get into that here, and I'll show you what it kind of looks like on the program that I use. So let's get into it. So now we're going to talk about setting up your guitar for recording with an amp sim. So first off, it's super simple to get everything hooked up. You just need the interface here and your guitar. My guitar is plugged in directly to the interface right here. So remember how we plugged in the microphone there? Well, you can skip all that other stuff. Just plug your guitar straight into there. And it's going to be the same way where you're going to play and ensure that your volumes are set right. So let's see if they're set right at the moment. Oh no, you have some serious clipping going on. See how it's red? Yeah, that's bad. We don't want that. So we have to turn our volume down. Right, let's see where we're sitting at right now. So it appears that it's kind of fading in and out of the green a little bit. Maybe we want to turn it up just a hair. So let's see what it's at like right now. See how it's just barely touching the orange a little bit? That's fine. The orange is just our warning that we might start clipping. But as long as we're not going into the red and we're green most of the time, then we're pretty good. So, now you have your guitar set up for your interface. Now let's get into the program on the computer. So now that we have our guitar set up going into our interface and then into the computer, we're going to need to set up the amp sim on the computer. So we have our tracks loaded up, and you're going to need to get an amp sim. And here's the one that I'm going to choose for this example. This is the Neural DSP Archetype Nolly. This is one of my favorite ones. I use it pretty often. As you can see, you have the amp here. You have some effects that you can choose. You have an EQ section. And here you have the IR loader. So basically this emulates miking up a cabinet like I showed you earlier, except it's all digital on the software. So the same thing kind of applies. You're going to want to set up a tone that sounds good to you. This can take some, playing around. But like I said, keep in mind that the guitar is a mid-range instrument. So you don't want anything too boomy or too shrill. So here, this is the tone that I have set up at the moment. So, that's the tone that I choose. I like it, and I chose it because it'll sit well in a mix too, as we'll come to find out. So, we have the amp set up, and we're good to go. We're ready to start tracking. So, we're going to get ready and start tracking. It's going to be the same way. We're just going to hit record, and we're going to start playing. So we've recorded our first take. Now what we have to do is go back and record the second. And again, we're going to listen to it and then pan each left and right. Hear how it sounds. So I hope that kind of clears things up for everybody as far as, the first steps you need to take when making hard rock heavy metal guitars. Feel free, if you have any questions, please ask them below and I'll respond to every question. I hope you enjoyed the beginning of this little series, and I hope you stick around to see more. Thanks. Peace.